Welcome back to our rich YouTube channel. Today's class we're learning how to make this beautiful shoulder design on a dress, or it can also be on a blouse. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. This is something you like to learn. Kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so to make this, the first thing you need to determine is where you're going to be placing this. So I'm going to be placing this design on this blouse that I already have. So now I'm just going to take my measurement. It's going to be along the dart line area. So now from the hem, which is the waistline of the front, I'm going to place my tape now and measure all the way to the shoulder, and then I'm going to take it to the back as well and measure all the way to the hem of the back. So I have around 34 inches there. So this is a full circle flare. So the 34 inches, I'm going to divide it by 6.28. I'll just set this aside and then work on my main fabric. So the 34 inches, I'm going to divide it by 6.28, which is a constant, and that's going to give me around 5.4 thereabouts. So that's going to be the radius of this flare. So it's a double flare. The first one is around, I'm going to make the first one around 6 inches, that's for me, and then the short one I'm going to, or 7 inches, then I'm going to deduct like 2 inches for the short one. So the length of the first one is going to be 7 inches, and the length of the short one is going to be 5 inches for me. You can work with whatever it is that you want. Okay, so now I'm going to fold my fabric into 4. So I'll first fold into 2. The measurement that you're going to need for the first one is the 7 inches plus the 5.4 that you're going to be using for your radius. That's what you're going to use to fold your fabric. So 7 plus 5 is around 12. So I'm just going to use around 13 inches to fold my fabric. Okay. So once I have up to that, I'm going to fold again to make it into 4. So I folded in my fabric. The next thing is to measure my radius. So the radius I'm working with is 5.5, and I'm measuring that all round from the origin here. So I'm measuring 5.5 all round, and then I'm going to make that into a circle. So after making this into a circle, the next thing is to measure the length of this flare. So in this case, I want to use 7 inches, but I'm just going to exhaust what I have here because of my allowance. So these are around 7.5 inches. So the half inches is going to be used to turn this. So I'm measuring 7.5 inches from where my radius stops, and I'm going to make that into a circle as well. So after making this into a circle, I'm going to cut it out. So the same way I've measured for this, I'm going to do the same thing for the smaller circle. The radius remains the same. The only difference is going to be the length of the flare. Okay, so I'm going to be deducting 2 inches from the length that I used for the big one to form the smaller circle. So I've cut this out now. I'm also going to remove the radius. So for each of the fabric that you cut out, you need 2 of it. You can use the same fabric or use a lining, because ideally you should add like an interfacing to this, maybe a soft gum stay or a peplum stay, depending on the structure that you're going for, so that it can help the flare to have some form of structure. So now you need your main fabric and your lining to cover up the interfacing that you're adding. But because this is just a tutorial, I'm not going to be adding an interfacing for this, so I'll just cut this out now and then cut it out on my, and then cut out my lining as well. Then I'm just going to turn it. Okay, so for the shorter flare, like I said, after folding into 4, I'm going to measure the 5.5 inches, the same 5.5 inches that I measured for the radius of the long one. as you can see here, and then I'm going to connect it. So after connecting it from where that stops, I'm going to measure 5 inches. Okay, remember we used 7.5 for the first one, so here I'm using 5 inches for the short one, which is around 2.5 inches difference. And then I'm going to connect that as well, and then I'll cut it out and also cut a lining for that. So I've cut out the flare. This is the long one and this is the short one, so I have 2 for each. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I have 2 for each. One is going to be for the main fabric and the other is going to be for the lining. So now the next thing you need to do now is to open the flare on one side. Okay, so I'm going to cut it open on one side, and then you're going to place the lining against the main fabric, and then take it to the sewing machine and sew it around the hemline. Then we're going to turn it and give it a good press before we place this on our main bodies. So I'm just going to place my lining against my main fabric, and then I'll go ahead and sew it all around, and we'll bring it back to the continue. So I've gone ahead to sew this together. You start your sewing from where you opened it up, okay, where you divided your flare into 2. So I started sewing from there and then sew all the way around. So you can notch it round because it's a circle. Then after notching it round, I'm going to turn it to the right side and give it a good press. Remember that if this were to be an actual design, you may need to add interface it to this so that it's going to be stronger. So immediately after cutting your fabric, you cut out your interfacing the same way. You fuse it together with your hot iron before you go ahead to join this. So you may add interfacing to just the lining. You don't have to add it to the main fabric and the lining. So after turning it out now, you are going to place the 2 of them on each other and then sew it around your main bodies. So after turning it and placing it on each other, you can see the difference that we have between the 2. So all you just need to do now is to iron this. Then after ironing it, then you place it. You're going to place your main bodies like this. So just like we have measured it earlier on, I'm going to place my design from where I measured. So that's from the hemline of the front bodies. Okay, so now you can decide to weave this other side before you place this, or you can use them to turn out each other. So after weaving it, you're going to place it like this, and then I'm going to sew around so that by the time I finish sewing it and I flip it, it's going to be neat on this other side. So now I'm just going to place it like this and take it to the sewing machine now and then sew it all around. So you make sure that this side is neat by either weaving it, okay, to remove all these rough edges, or you can just place them against each other like this, sew it. By the time you sew it and flip it, it's going to be neat before you sew it to your main bodies. Okay, so I've gone ahead to fix the flares. You can see it now, it is well ironed now and it's laying really well. So I don't have any interfacing on this, but it still came out this lovely. So if you want to have more structure on your flare, you just need to iron some interfacing to it before you join the lining to the main bodies. I hope you enjoyed making this tutorial with me, and if you're wondering how I made this cute top that I placed this on, the tutorial is already on the channel. So if you want to learn how to make this, you may check it out or ask in the comment section for the link to the tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed making this tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.